Welcome to another edition of Overcoming Illness. So I'm your host, Paula Denoncourt. I'm a holistic health coach. I've been doing my business since about 2010. I help people with things like autoimmune issues, food allergies, food sensitivities. I do that by one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and speaking engagements, as well as now my TV show. So tonight I'm really excited to have Prophet Cherie Bean on the show. And she's going to share her amazing journey, I should say, and organization that she started. I just want to let everybody know, being a health coach, I do have digital recipe books, ebooks available for people that suffer from multiple food allergies or even inflammation. If you have like arthritic type problems, I can do customized recipes, or I have them on my website, EnrichUrHealth.com, along with some free gifts. And that goes for you too, Cherie. I have Reversing Illness ebook, digital ebook, and 6-Day Immunity Meal Plan Guide. So I'm excited to have Prophet Cherie Carroll Bean on tonight. She's an author, she's a TV host, and she is also a podcast host. So I'm really excited to share her journey tonight, and some of what she's gone through in her life to get her to where she is now. She's gone from rejection to redemption.
Yes.
And I cannot wait for you guys to hear some of the types of rejection she's gone through. Addiction was one of them, and I'm going to go into her bio and name some of it. And then we'll go into some of the questions. And then, Cherie, at the end, you can let us know where people can reach you. Hey, Maggie, thanks for being on. Antoinette, thank you for coming on. So thank you for those of you on. If you don't comment, I don't know you're here. But good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, whatever part of the world you're in. So thank you all for being here. So with that, let me introduce Cherie. Prophet Cherie was raised in the heart of the West Side after losing her adopted mother at the age of 10. She found herself living with her aunt, who was very emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and sometimes physically abusive. To escape the abuse in her household, she would hang out with some of the most notorious gangbangers and drug dealers on the west side of Chicago. I already know living in Chicago could not have been easy. Cherie drew their attention because she had a reputation for fighting. She would fight anyone, male or female. What they did not know was that she wasn't fighting to be seen. She was fighting because that was the only way she knew to deal with the hurt, abandonment, and rejection living and growing on the inside of her. It was also on the tough streets of Chicago's West Side. Cherie started sleeping with women and snorting cocaine. She started sleeping with women because almost every day her aunt would tell her how ugly she was and that no man would want her. Cherie started using drugs. Cherie started using drugs to fit in with the crowd she hung out with. After all, that is the only place she thought she fit in. And she would do and become whatever was necessary not to feel alone. Cherie has written a book depicting her life's journey, and it is called From Rejection to Redemption: One Woman's Journey. In it, she goes into detail on how Jesus interrupted her sin agenda with his plan of salvation. And amen to that.
Yes. Yes.
Amen to that. Yes. There's a 30-day journal that accompanies the book. The journal is filled with prayers designed to not only enhance your prayer life and language, but to assist you in identifying and uprooting the spirit of rejection both. Cherie's book and journal can be purchased on Amazon. Prophet Cherie hosts a bi-weekly Facebook Live show called Cherie TV. When asked to describe her show, she states, Cherie TV is a platform where the unknown voices are given an opportunity to release their kingdom sound. She brings people on who God has highlighted and given a message for the masses. That's huge. That's really, that's awesome. How many of us have been in the back and not come to the forefront, but God wanted us in the forefront? She also hosts a podcast called Sit Down with Cherie. She uses the platform to release the word of the Lord, provide kingdom encouragement, and host other prophetic and marketplace voices called to speak and govern and shift the trajectory of those listening. Not only is Prophet Cherie a published author, She's also the founder of a nonprofit called Hearts for Cancer. Hearts for Cancer buys Care Bears and gives them to everyday sheroes and heroes without capes who have been given a cancer diagnosis. Cherie is a prophetic voice in the earth called and commissioned by God. That's so amazing.
Amen.
She is a prophetic intercessor sought by many to teach and train on praying the scriptures and praying them with the kingdom authority. Prophet Cherie will tell you in a no nonsense way that she hates the devil and he
Hate him.
hates her.
Hate him.
Prophet Cherie has no problem admitting that she is the least of the least called by a sovereign God to do and demonstrate the supernatural power of God everywhere she goes. Prophet Cherie will also tell you in no uncertain terms, don't come in her space if you don't want destiny pulled or pushed out of you.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Many call her a mother to those who feel abandoned and lost. She says, I simply want to be to and for others what I wanted and needed for myself. Prophet Cherie lives by intent, out loud and in color, and she does it without man's permission or approval. She makes no apologies for who she is, what she is called to do, and how she is called to demonstrate the will of the Father in the earth. Welcome, Prophet Cherie, and welcome
Hey,
everybody else who's come on.
thank you so much. Thank you.
We're just happy to have you. Thank you for coming on. So, Cherie, tell us, what is your passion and why?
Wow. So I'd have to say my passion is the broken. Anybody broken that comes around me, the antennas go up, Lady Paula, and I want to be something or someone in their life that helps get them to a place called wholeness.
Mm,
And growing up in the household that I grew up in, there was no voice around me to say, Cherie, you could do it. That I lived in a very verbally abusive household, and so one of the things that I longed for was someone to tell me that I wasn't what other people were saying that I was. So when my aunt called me dumb and stupid and never amount to anything, I longed for someone to say that's not true. You
right.
are amazing. You know what, the seeds that you plant in a child, the soil of a child's heart, the tree will grow, and then they'll eat from the tree that is grown. So you have to be very careful of the words, because I ended up living out those words. When she called me dumb and stupid, I began to embrace that as my truth, and I did dumb and stupid things. You know,
Mm,
I lived it out. So my passion is to see broken healed and made whole. My passion is to make sure that as many people that come in my pathway called life know that there is a God who is greater than any negative influence or affluence in their life. My passion is to see people smile. I literally, people will tell you, Lady Paula, I don't know a stranger. I will walk up to anyone and just hold a whole conversation. And I believe that the world is missing the component called compassion. It was compassion that made Jesus heal the multitude and continue on the mission of redemption. It was the passion and the love for humanity. And I believe that out of all the things we do, sometimes we forget the greatest element, because compassion makes you look beyond what a person is and they're now and look to where they could be. You know, compassion sees the God in them. So if I can't look at someone and see the God in them, then I'm asking God to change my eyesight.
ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear that? Ask God to change your eyesight if you're judged. I guess you'd say judgmental. Aren't we all a little bit judgmental? Look
Yeah.
what's going on in Florida right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
All I keep hearing is people keep saying, well, why didn't you get out? You should have got out. Why didn't you? You know what I mean? Like, not everybody has the means
Yes.
to evacuate. You know, what do they have? 2 days notice, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, they didn't know how bad it was going to be. They're used to storms, so they thought, we'll have to ride it out. Maybe they didn't have money to get a hotel. Maybe they didn't have anywhere to go. Maybe they lost pets.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason. I mean, don't judge everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even when you say that, all of the hurricanes and disasters and different things that we had, you can't tell me now one of the person that suffered the great loss and had to go and start over just decided I'm going to stay. Now you may get some people that say I'm going to stay, but there, for the most part, most people would love a way out. They may not
Right.
get it. there are some areas where they're the last ones to even get the help. So you have to look at it from so many points of views. And then there are those, mothers who say, if my child can't go, I'm not going to go. That's what a mother does, right? That's what a
Right.
father does. They
Right.
stay, and it's so quick to judge. It's so quick for me to
We
say,
all do it. I'm not
yeah,
gonna say I'm not guilty
yeah,
because I
we
yep.
absolutely, absolutely. And we learn. Sometimes the greatest lesson about judging is when you find yourself in that plateau yourself and you're being
Right.
judged. You're like, whoa, did I do that? If I did,
Yep.
then I'm sorry. So yeah.
Yep. I have a saying, never say never, because even though you say I'll never do that, no, I wouldn't do that, but you don't know unless you're in that situation.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
just don't know. So I love that. God, I want to see them the way you see them.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because then that's the eyes of love, mercy, and compassion. That's the eyes that say, I know all the sin that you're in. I know all the disobedience, the rebellion. I know everything that you're in, but I love you. And
Yep.
love really does cover a multitude of sin. And love is the only weapon that I've seen cause hell to just leave. Like it really can, because you can love the hell out of a person for real. You really can. I'm a living witness of that. So when you know that and you embrace that as truth, you just make that your mandate. So yeah.
So did you have brothers and sisters growing up?
I was the only child in my family. So my story is a bit complex. So most people think that rejection starts from outward when you're born and you get in situations my rejection actually was framed in the womb because my birth mother had 8 children and she did not raise not one child.
Hmm.
So when I was given up for adoption, that set the framework for rejection. But God is so amazingly awesome. He set this wonderful woman in my life who became my adopted mother. Her name is Mary. And she loved me like she had given birth to me. There was nothing that she would not do for me. And her words always were encouraging and all of that. And I had her for 10 years and I honored that. But when she transitioned and I was with her aunt blamed me for her death. My aunt blamed me for her sister's death. And I know hurt people hurt people. So she had lost a lot in herself. I've learned to forgive the hurt that she never even knew she lived in. So I became, it's kind of like when and I hate to say it like this, but I'll put it like this in everyday terms. If a woman gets raped and gets pregnant and has the child, sometimes she looks at the child and doesn't see the child. She sees the rape.
Yep.
And
We
so
talked
she
about
tries
this.
to treat the
Yeah.
child in an unjust way because of how that child got here. Right? Not
Right.
the child fault, but she is angry about the rape. She's angry about whatever the case may be. So when my aunt looked at me, she saw what she perceived to be the early death of her sister. And because my mother was known to be violent. I had a mother who was known as one you just didn't want to mess with, and I have more characteristics of her, I think, than most, because I growing up, and it's in my book From Rejection to Redemption. I talk about growing up being the one that would fight at the drop of a hat because of what was going on inside, and I found out that she was like that. So I have sisters and brothers, and God allowed me. A few years back to actually meet my birth mother. I was
Mhm.
over 40 when I met her. And it wasn't one of those Paula stories where it was like, "Oh, I missed. I did." No, no, that wasn't a story. we
Right.
we met we met at a family reunion, and she walked up and I grabbed her and I was crying, Paul. I was like, "Oh my God, you're my mom!" And she looked at me and she said, she gave me a pat and she walked away and she saw my little sister and she said, "There go my baby right there." And I stood in the middle of the family reunion crying. Because I was like, what? Because you go through that, even as an adult, you can go through, what is wrong with me? Why
Yeah.
can't you love me? What is wrong? But at that moment I had people around me to say, don't do that. Don't you go in there. Don't you enter that dark space. And they would tell me that's how she is. You can't, don't do it. And so I got a chance to meet my birth brothers and sisters, which was amazing. I love them. I have a little sister named Cherie, and I have 2 older brothers and an
Nice.
older sister. So I got a chance to meet them. So that was good. Um, but prior to that, my life was very, I was on the road to hell. And I put myself on it. I didn't want to be here. I thought that God had made a mistake in leaving me here.
Mm.
And so I did everything and anything I could to numb the pain. So I don't want to, yeah, well, you could, I don't want to keep talking because I'll just keep going.
That's people need to hear it. So tell me, like the reunion, how did you wind up like at a family reunion like that?
So I
How did they
have
come out?
yeah, I have a birth uncle up here. And so I had got in contact with him. And they had a family. I found out that they had a family reunion every year. And so this year I said I want to go. And so they made sure that I was able to get down there and go because they wanted me to meet her as well. And it just didn't go the way everybody would have liked it to go. It
Mm,
just wasn't. But I now say with my birth mother, anyone can have a baby and it doesn't qualify you as being a mother. She
right.
had children, she couldn't be a mother. And I believe she knew that. I believe that she knew that she couldn't be a mother. And she gave them away. And that was her choice. She passed away a few years ago as well. And so my greatest takeaway from that is one, thank God she didn't abort me because I needed to be here.
Right.
The next takeaway was I thank God that He allowed me to meet her, to look upon her, and just tell her. I was able to tell her, I love you. You know,
Yeah.
I love you. It doesn't matter what I just need you to know that I love you. And I did. I can honestly say that I did my best in trying to have a relationship with her. It just wasn't her wish.
Yeah.
And so you learn and you grow from those type of things.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I was also adopted. Yeah, I was adopted into a really good family. Both my
Right.
parents are now, but I never knew my birth mother,
Mhm.
and I've never like tried to look for her or anything. I don't know who my birth siblings are or anything. So I just think that's awesome. Regardless which way it went, at least you got to meet some of them. Are you
Yeah.
in touch with some of your brothers and sisters now?
All the time, all the time. I because I'm family oriented, so I'm reaching out. They've started reaching out. So yeah, we keep in contact. Because I told them if we're all that we have, then let's make that real. Let's be
Yeah.
all that we have. Let's break generational curses and cycles of dysfunction of not talking and all of that. Let's break that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm called to do. So it's heartache sometimes, but we do it right. We keep going.
Yeah. You're meant to mend families together and people, and yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I was like I said, I was fortunate. I had a good mom and dad, good upbringing. I'm thankful for my adopted parents because I don't know
Yes.
where I would have ended up. No idea.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I've always been thankful to my mom that gave me up for
Mm-hmm.
that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like not everybody
Yes.
else feels that way.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
like you said it earlier, right from the get go, we feel rejection. We don't even know we're feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know this or realize this. Sometimes right from the womb you're feeling rejection, like your mom didn't want you. You pick up
Yes.
on that,
Mm-hmm.
feeling, and you're born with it.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
one of those things that you're just rejection's just kind of in you because
Yeah.
that's you're born. And even I've always hated hospitals, and not even the not that anybody really likes hospitals, but I always wondered too, not always, I kind of came to this realization a few years back. I wonder if my biggest hatred for hospitals is because I was born in one where I was given up. Like my mom gave me
Wow.
up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thought. Or is it just, a lot of people hate hospitals? I mean, who
No,
likes,
it's an association. It's just
right,
like we said. Sometimes people we react to the association we have with something. So
right.
it's an
I don't know.
association. I get it.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
never know, but just a thought. Yeah. So, so tell us a little bit more of your upbringing, some of the things you went through, and then we'll talk. I do want to talk about your organization as well.
So
Just tell us a little bit about the drug addiction and sleeping with women. I mean, it sounds like you were just looking to kill pain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when people begin to understand that the drug use is a outward symptom of a much deeper problem going on within. So we oftentimes look at drug addicts and say, I don't know how they could. You're right, you don't. But who acts? Who takes the time to go up and say, what happened? That's the greatest question you can ask someone in pain. What happened? Why are
Yeah.
you here? So for me, I needed to numb the pain that was in my home. I mean, if you could picture waking up almost every day to someone calling you dumb and someone calling you stupid and comparing you to
Mhm.
other people, and you never living up, and being, told things like, I'm not going to let you kill me like you did my sister. And you know I stayed on punishment for literally, I could say anything wrong and be on punishment for 6 to 9 months. I stayed
Oh,
on punishment more than I think I wasn't on punishment. I wasn't allowed to have sleepovers and friends, and I wasn't allowed any of those things. And I could get in trouble if people would call my house and ask for me. So it was a lot. It was explosive verbally. It was explosive emotionally, because again, those things were sitting. I remember, I'm from 10 years old up until 15 or 16 years old, nobody honored my voice. I failed 8th grade because my aunt wouldn't adhere to the standards, when they used to say you have to have paper transcripts and you have to go over there and you have to. My aunt wouldn't do that, so I ended up failing 8th grade. Imagine what that was like, watching your peers go before you, and I tested higher than most of them in school, and she didn't care, and then even after that, I was made to wear the same clothes, because she said, if you're dumb enough not to, if you're too dumb to pass, then I'm not buying you any school. She would never accept the responsibility of the fact that you're the one that made me, have to repeat this class. These great, and there was all kind of teachers was even calling her and say, hey, will you please get the transcript so we can get her? She's smart enough. She would never go. I'm just kind of trying to paint a
hmm.
picture of that type
Yeah.
of life, and just giving to a point. I think at 15, I gave up. I
Yeah.
gave up. I gave up because and I know how it happened, Lady Paula. It happened because I had dropped. I was, now they would say, an AB student, but I had been one of those students who they wanted to skip grades back in those times. If you had a high enough score, you could skip grades. And my grades had dropped, and I had brought them all up except one, a math grade. And she looked at my report card, and I'm talking about from C's to B's and A's, all the way up. I brought them all in one semester. I brought everything up except that math grade. I couldn't get it. And she looked at that math grade, and when she said, you dumb and you stupid, something in me died at
Yeah.
that moment. I was, hope died. Hope died. I said, that's it. I'm not going to try anymore. And I started hanging out with gangbangers, and I started hanging out with drug dealers and all of those things. And they knew me because I would fight. Like they knew Cherie Carol Bean. They would call me another name on the street. But they say, oh man, when she come on the block, get it together, because I was just angry all the time, and would fight. And so when they started paying attention to me, I didn't get the attention in the home, so I ran to where the attention was. This is
Right.
what rejection does, though. Rejection will cause you to associate, align yourself, and get with someone or something that is means good, but it feels good for the first time. And so I started hanging with them, and they introduced me to powder cocaine. They introduced me to a gang lifestyle. My first so-called love was a woman, an older woman, because when you are looking for love, when what appears to be love shows up,
Yeah.
you'll take it. Depending on the depth. Now I'll say this: depending on the depth of rejection and self-hatred and loathing that you may be walking. I didn't like me. I didn't even like to look in the mirror. I didn't like me. I thought I was ugly. I thought everything about me was ugly. So when someone pays attention, I would grab onto them like for dear life, because I couldn't let you go, because if I let you go, then I'll be back in this empty space. And so I grabbed a hold to whatever it was, and there was something deep inside of me that knew it was wrong, but I needed to feel wanted. I needed to feel love, and it was abusive. She would jump on me, and her friends jumped on me, and all kind of things. But I stayed because this is the only thing I thought love looked like. So I understand when women who go through abusive relationships say, I thought this is what it is, because you don't, um, and so it progressed. And I remember I was standing on the corner one day in my neighborhood, and somebody walked up to me and they said, Cherie, you better get out of here, because there's a hit on you. Now, these are from the people that I hung out with. These are,
Mm.
my book talks about it in great detail. These are some of the people I hung out with. And they were going to kill me because I became more popular than some of them. I've always been a nice person. I've just been a nice person that was full of issues. And so, so I left. I remember leaving crying, and I went north to the north side of Chicago, and I fell deeper into drugs, and I fell deeper into lesbianism. I was deeper into the dark places of rejection. It was just deeper, deeper, and I didn't see a way out. I was content with dying the way that I was. I never My testimony is not that I looked for Jesus. It's not that I wanted God. I was mad at him for taking my mom. I didn't want it. Everybody that told me about Christianity told me you going to hell. Nobody told me about a road called salvation. Some of the people that told me how quick I was going to hell was buying the same drugs I was buying, and all of these other things. So I thought the Christianity was full of hypocrisy. So who wanted any part of that? Uh,
Right.
but when God wants you, when God has His hand on you,
Mm.
much as I tried to run away, and I remember the day it happened, Lady Paula. I was working at a store, and my godmother, who couldn't stand me at first, she was too saved, and I couldn't stand her. I thought she was too saved, and she thought I was too much of a sinner. And we couldn't stand each other, but God knitted it. One day I was walking past with my sin partner. That's what I call him, my sin partner. We was walking past, and she jumped out of the seat. She was getting her hair done, and she hugged me, and she said to me, she said, "Girl, God gonna use you in your testimony." I didn't know that was an impartation. And from that moment on, I literally started wanting to know, well, who is this Jesus? And I remember I went to several churches, and they were so busy looking at the man pants I had on, and the man shirt I had on, and the man shoes I had on. They didn't welcome me. They didn't say, "Do you know Jesus?" When I would come, of course, they wouldn't put me out, but I could tell I wasn't wanted, and
Yeah.
nobody would greet me. Nobody hugged me. Nobody gave me that love. And I didn't want any part of that.
Mm.
So, for me, all of that, uh, all of my life prior to salvation was spent chasing the love that only God could give me. It was spent chasing the acceptance that was found in the bosom of Christ.
Amen.
I didn't get high to, I didn't use drugs to get high. I used drugs not to feel.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep with women
Yeah.
just because I wanted to sleep with women. I slept with them because that made me feel something until that became empty. Everything became empty after. It's like going to bed for satisfaction and getting up unsatisfied. You know,
Yeah.
all of those things was before. And when I tell you that the road, even when I came to Christ, when I started telling my testimony, people laughed at my testimony and said, "I don't believe she's delivered," and all of these things. And even in the body of Christ, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And again,
Wow.
it all of these things are in my book, where I go into detail and I talk about some of how Lady Paula, these things affected me, because had it not been Jesus, had it not been God, I would have left Christianity at least a year in, because all I heard was what I wasn't. All I heard was, well, we don't know if you this, and we don't, it was so heartbreaking.
Mm.
And it's a saying, that says you can't skin a fish that hasn't been caught. And so many times they were trying to dress up the outside, and nobody knew the stench of the rejection and the hurt and the disappointment and the loneliness that I was feeling on the inside. I was still the 10-year-old girl who saw them take my mother away in a body bag, and I was screaming and nobody heard me. Yeah, I talk about it. That's the only chapter in my book I can't read. I can't read that chapter that talks about that, because it was the most painful. And
I
I
can't
died.
imagine.
I died with her. And I remember in my silent scream, when they said that she was dead. And I heard my auntie saying it, and I started screaming, "You promised you wouldn't leave me. You promised you wouldn't leave me." And I
Mhm.
was screaming, but I didn't open my mouth.
Right.
In my mouth. So it was a silent scream. And I remember when they zipped up the body bag and they were carrying her downstairs,
Oh,
part of my life went with her. And I think I chased that love that she had for years, until I could accept that my aunt had whatever she had going on, and she was not capable of giving me the love that I needed. And I had to get that love through Christ. The
yeah.
men didn't get it. The women didn't do it. The drugs didn't do it. It
No.
had to be Christ. And still sometimes to this day, when I think about the days, I fall into a weep, not a sad weep, but just a weep that he loved me so much through those hardest times